Welcome to SNT's 10 and 10, where you get the top 10 space news stories in less than 10 minutes. On this week's show, we feature
a new rocket engine, a cool new attraction for Starbase tourists. Goodbye, Earth. A new commercial rocket company enters the government's contract fray. Big fire at Starbase. Next on SNT.
60 seconds.
This week, coming in at number 10, a key element for the Lunar Gateway, the Lunar Space Station portion of the Artemis plan, has arrived to a clean room after testing and is prepared to be assembled. Thales Alenia Space in Turrin, Italy is building this particular module seen here. This week, coming in at number 9, Aerospace stated in a press release on X that they had successfully completed a test fire series of their upper stage engine using their Vortex technology capable of providing 35,000 pounds of thrust. It's unknown if this is eventually intended for the Dream Chaser or some other project. The engine is a fuel-rich staged combustion cycle hydrolox engine. Aerospace made the Dream Chaser. This week, coming in at number 8, there's a new shopping development on the Rio Grande just outside of Brownsville being planned. The development will feature a grocery store, cafe, shops, a SpaceX museum, and an observation deck so you can watch launches from it. RGV aerial photography has captured the cleared land that is possibly for this development. We'll have a cool new place to go and shop and maybe have SpaceX merchandise. And they have this cool observation deck. Check that out. This week, coming in at number 7, an amazing image of 30 Dorado. It's a star-forming region, was made by combining the image from 3 sources. The first source was NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, and then it was combined with the visual image from Hubble Space Telescope, and then it was topped off with the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array. It's an amazing conglomerate image that brings together multiple observation tools that NASA utilizes to help us to learn about our universe and solar system. This week, coming in at number 6, on February 11, 2025, China launched the first Long March 8A rocket from Wenchang Satellite Launch Center. The rocket has the same core and boosters as its predecessor. However, it's a brand new second stage with greater lift capacity and a bit wider of a fairing bay. Payload is still hush-hush because, China. China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation. CASC. China. Number 5, on February 13th, the U.S. Space Force announced that Firefly Aerospace was awarded a military contract worth over $21 million to launch satellites for the U.S. Space Force aboard their Alpha rockets. This is a huge announcement for Firefly Aerospace, as they are rapidly expanding their commercial space programs and simultaneously preparing to land upon the moon. Along with Rocket Lab, Firefly is definitely a company to watch. Coming in at number 4 this week, Blue Origin CEO Dave Limp announced about 1,000 layoffs at Blue Origin. This was done to reduce the bureaucracy within the organization in an attempt to streamline their organization and to speed up their development processes. In keeping with that spirit of making Blue Origin operate with a greater sense of urgency, Blue Origin announced that the next New Glenn launch will be in early spring, March through May. This is an ambitious timeline that is unlike the Blue Origin we used to know. Hopefully Dave Limp can move Blue Origin to more align with other commercial space companies to be less like government programs and move much more rapidly. Coming in at number 3 this week.
3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starship.
SpaceX Falcon 9 has flown 3 times since our last episode, twice from Slick 40 with a 4-day turnaround on the second launch, and once from Vandenberg. These are some highlights from the latest flight out of Slick 40. Now this brings the year's total after 1.5 months to 19 launches, and we're on par to reach 152 launches prior to the end of the year, which is a bit short of their goal, but spring and summer typically bring more launches. The February 15th, 2025 launch from Slick 40, which you're watching here, was carrying Starlink satellites. This was the 26th flight and successful landing for our favorite booster, 1067. Booster 1067 successfully landed its 25th flight just last month, and here we are a month later with its 26th landing on SpaceX autonomous drone ship, a short fall of gravitas. Here comes 1067's reentry burn.
Entry burn shutdown. Stage 1 transonic.
That speck you see in the left-hand corner of the screen is a shortfall of gravitas below. As the booster 1067 falls towards it, we're getting ready to do the landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn. Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Congratulations, SpaceX, for the
Stage
26th
two,
landing of
apparatus.
1067. On February 12th, SpaceX rolled out Starship 34 and did a static fire ahead of the integrated flight testing. This was the last static fire remaining for the flight hardware to be used during Flight 8 and lasted over a minute. This was a long burn of all 6 engines on Ship 34 at various throttle settings. All seemed nominal until after the shutdown, a weird pop was heard. This pop was unusual in that we hadn't heard it before. SpaceX hasn't stated anything went wrong with the static fire. It's quite possible it could have been a noise from the heat trench or unburned fuel that ignited after shutdown. Either way, Ship 34 rolled back in one piece to Starbase. Now we await inspection and flight preps for both Ship 34 and Booster 15. Next stop is stacking, wet dress rehearsal, and IFT-8. We now await FAA approval. The booster and ship are ready to fly. Coming in at number 1 this week, Goodbye Earth, Hello Moon. Firefly Space arrives in lunar orbit. Firefly Aerospace Blue Ghost lunar lander arrives in lunar orbit on February 14, 2025. Firefly Aerospace Blue Ghost lander's journey to the moon culminated in the arrival in lunar orbit. The Ghost will stay in and circularize their lunar orbit. On arrival, the Ghost did a deceleration burn to allow lunar gravity well to capture the Ghost in lunar orbit. The Ghost will remain in lunar orbit for a few weeks doing observations and testing of their lander prior to initiating its fast deceleration burn to descend to the moon. Landing is expected in early March. That's the space news this week. Tune in next week on SNT.
60 seconds. That's one small step for